Hey guys, so I'm here to do a July book haul just to show you some of the books that I bought. I got some online, I got some from secondhand stores, and some of them are library books. I'm really excited about them. There are quite a few, so I'm going to jump right into it. Okay, so the first book is A Natural History of Dragons, which is a memoir by Lady Trent, and this is by Marie Brennan. This book is about a woman, and she's a famous dragon researcher and dragon scientist. She's like super badass, and she's well accomplished, except this fantasy. So it's like Victorian England, but with dragons, and it's called something else. I think it's called like Skirland or something weird. But it's basically that kind of vibe, like the same limitations to women apply as in Victorian England, and this woman decides to go out and study dragons despite it, science in general being like a gentleman's pursuit. So then she goes and she writes this memoir after she's become like well established, and actually I think she is the leading expert in dragons, which is really, really exciting. And this book kind of follows her as a child, all the things that influenced her, and how kind of rebellious she was, and how much she loved nature and learning about anatomy, and just her early life basically, like how she became the woman that she is now. So I'm halfway through it, and it's so good. I absolutely love it, and I highly recommend it so far. But who knows, I'm definitely not going to recommend books until I finish them completely, because I've had really bad experiences with that. So this is one of the ones I picked up, and I got this online, and I heard about it on BookTube actually. I heard about it from a couple of people who mentioned it, and I was like, that sounds amazing, especially because I'm a biologist myself, and there just aren't that many fantasy books about female biologists. So I'm like, yes, I'm about this book. Yeah, so that's the first one. And the second book that I bought, I'm actually really excited about this also. Weird Things That Customers Say in Bookshops. And this is by Jen Campbell, who is one of my favorite booktubers. So I am so happy to have her book. And I knew that it was going to be amazing because Jen is amazing. And it's basically just all the weird things, obviously, and the funny things, the not so funny things, the slightly depressing things that customers say when they go to bookshops. And I'm like 3/4 through this, and it has amazing illustrations, and it's absolutely adorable, and it's so funny. So I would highly recommend this. This is really great, a great book. Like on the cover here, you can see a customer, and he's like, do you have any books by Jane Eyre? And then the librarian's like, what? So yeah, so it's really fun, and one of those books that'll just brighten up your day, if you're not feeling too great, because it's just full of lots of fun stuff. So I love this book, and thank you Jen for making it and for bringing it to life, because I absolutely love it. Okay, so then I'm going to talk about the books that I got from the library. So I got Spilt Milk by Kupano Matwa, and she's a young South African author, and she's very famous for writing a book called Coconut, but I couldn't find that at the library, so I got this one here, and it's something to do with like teachers, and it's like it's a contemporary book, so I'm excited to get introduced to her writing, and then hopefully when I go back I'll be able to get the book that I actually wanted by her. But this is her second novel, so it should be good. Okay, and then the next one is Lagoon by Nnedi Okorafor, and she is a Nigerian author, but she lives in America, and I think she grew up in America, but she writes sci-fi that's set in Africa, and I love that. So this is basically an alien story that's set in Nigeria, and this is the first book of hers that I'll be reading, so I'm really excited about that. And I actually have another one of her books coming through Binti, which won, I think it was like the Nebula Award, but it won some sort of like sci-fi novella award for, I think, last year. So that's on its way, but I got this from the library just, to prepare myself for her writing. And also I just want to, I've never read an African sci-fi before, so I'm super excited about it, and hopefully it's really good. I have pretty high expectations, because it's just something so different. Okay, and the next book was The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. So I don't know much about this one, but I do know that, I've been meaning to get into Jhumpa Lahiri's writing. So I'm expecting it to be really beautiful, because I know she writes really beautiful stories, and I think it's set in India, so I'm excited to get to this as well. Okay, and then the last books that I have are books that I got from the secondhand store, and I go about once every 2 weeks, sometimes twice a week, which is pretty bad. But the books are really cheap and they're really, really great books in really good condition, and they're super cheap, and I'm a cheapskate, so I really, really love this. So the first book that I got was We're All Completely Beside Ourselves by Karen Joy Fowler. And I know that this is supposed to be like a heartbreaking yet funny story about family, and if something happens in this family, like it's all happy, and there's this, the narrator of it is this really happy, talkative child, and then something happens and changes the whole family. It follows them and the people that they've become because of this event. So I'm excited to get to this as well. So another story about family that I got was Everything is Illuminated by Jonathan Safran Foer. And I know that this is about a young Jewish guy called Jonathan. I don't know if it's actually based on himself or what, but yeah. So he goes to Europe and he's looking for the man who saved his grandfather during World War II, so helped him escape from the Nazis or something. And it's also supposed to be like really heartbreaking but also really funny. I'm really excited to get to this, and I know that his writing is also like really beautiful, so I'm excited about that. And it was super cheap, so yay. And the next book that I got was by Kazuo Ishiguro. Yeah, so it's called The Unconsoled, and all I know is that it's about a piano player. And I just really love his writing, and I've read The Remains of the Day, and I want to get to Never Let Me Go. So really it was more an automatic author buy for me, and also really great condition. And the cover is just absolutely gorgeous. You just know it's going to be some sort of like a really deep book, and I'm really excited about that. And then I got Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. And I think most people know what this one's about because it's recently become a movie. But for those of you that don't, this is about a woman whose family was massacred, and everyone thought it was her brother, and so her brother goes to jail. And then a couple of years later, she goes back to, I think it's a farmhouse, she goes back to the farmhouse to try and figure out that maybe it's not her brother that actually killed her entire family, and there might be some sort of cult that got involved in it, and it's probably like a satanic cult, and so there's some really weird stuff going on, and it sounds really cool, so I'm really excited to read it. I want to get to it soon as well because I want to watch the movie soon, so this will probably be my next read after I'm done reading A Natural History of Dragons. So yeah, and the last book that I got was The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared, and this is by Jonas Johansson, Jonas Jonasson, basically. And I know that he's a Swedish author, and I've been meaning to get into kind of like Scandinavian literature, so I figured I'd start off with something that's pretty well known. So this is an international bestseller, and I've heard people talk about it, so I figured I'll start with something pretty well known and then kind of work my way into more like obscure authors when I figure out kind of what I'm into. But yeah, that's the last book that I got. So that's about 10 books. And so let me know if you've read any of them and if you enjoyed them. Also, if you have any recommendations based on the books that I just showed you, then please let me know as well. So thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you'll see these in an upcoming wrap-up soon. So yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!